Hi there, BookTube. So I hope it's not too much of a shock that this morning you're joining me in bed. This is the start of my Book Buddy-a-thon vloggy type video. What I'm going to do is I'm going to spend the week talking to you about the books that I end up reading straight after I finish them, because I think sometimes you get a really good reaction to what people think about a book when they do it straight after they've read them. And unfortunately for you, I finished reading my first book, which was my buddy read with Sam, Salt to the Seas by Ruta Sepetys, this morning in bed at about 7 AM. So this is how we're going to do it. So before I get into that one, I do quickly, because this is going to end up being sort of my Friday reads as well, I want to talk to you about the two books that I've read before the readathon starts. So if you've been watching my channel, you'll know that recently I read volume 1 of Giant Days, and I picked up volume 2 because I was super excited. And this is by Alison Tremaine Severn, I think, and Cougar, and Serin and Kogar. And I love this so much. This is volume 2. I love the artwork in this, and I just love the story, and each of the issues really feels like a separate individual sort of story or sort of event that's happened in the girls' lives. The whole graphic novel is centred around our three main characters. They're three young women who've met at university. It's set in the UK, which I think is really nice and different, because this often doesn't happen. It's often set in America, so it's really nice to have a setting of the UK where I actually recognise a lot of the places they're talking about and a lot of the types of things that occur in their university life. Yeah, I just really enjoying this. It's really making me reminisce about my university days. I'm loving the characters, and I definitely recommend picking this series up if you fancy something that's a bit light but fun. Set in the UK and about three girls finding their way through university with life, love, friendship, university scheduling. It's just really, really good fun, and I gave this one 4 stars. The next thing I want to talk about briefly is an audiobook, and I read this via Audible, and they very kindly credited me so that I could listen to this, so thank you so much to them for that, but obviously it won't change my opinion in any way. And I listened to Labyrinth Lost, which is by Zoraida Cordova. The basic story of this is we're following a girl called Alex. She is a bruja, which is a witch, and she has been getting ready for this death day, which is sort of a coming of age thing where you come into your magical powers. Something happens on this death day and she performs magic which disappears all of her family into sort of another dimension, so to speak. And then we're just following her journey to try and save them. This for me had, in its sort of essence, not in its plot or its characters necessarily, but in its sort of essence, it felt a bit Percy Jackson. It had that type of feel and read for me. I've never read anything that is infused with Latin American tradition like this before, and I really enjoyed that side of it. That part was very refreshing, very new and very interesting. What I struggled with a little bit was, but I had no emotional connection to any of the characters. I didn't really feel like I got to know them well enough, and there were parts that I enjoyed, but it was mainly the action and the moving through of the plot, and I didn't feel like there was anything else there for me to sort of grab hold of and to really root for anybody. So all in all, it was a good listen, and actually I really enjoyed the narrator for this. It was narrated by Almarie Guerra, and I believe that she is a Latin American narrator, which is brilliant because it really gave a feeling and sense of feeling to the character, and the accent and the voice of that character really worked, and I liked how she read it. I listened to this one on 2-speed. Because she was quite a fast speaker, I found that if I listened to it any faster, it wasn't working for me, and it didn't sort of flow as nicely. So 2-speed was quite good on this one. It was a good story, as I say. It was good, it was fun, it was just sort of okay, and so I gave it a 3 stars. So let's start talking about the first book, Salt to the Seas by Ruta Sepetys, that I've read for Book Buddy-a-thon. I haven't got a picture to show you because I'm filming this on my iPad and you can't put picture in a picture, and I read this on my Kindle. I read this with Sam, and Sam finished it before me, and I knew that she was thinking of giving it quite a low rating. Now, I went into this with really high expectations because it is really highly rated and recommended by people on BookTube and on Goodreads. It's got something like 4.38 rating on Goodreads, and every review I've watched of people talking about this really loved it. And I was hoping to love it, even though it didn't tick any of my boxes. I really don't get on very well with World War II novels for some reason, especially those that are YA. For some reason, I find that YA World War II novels they make it too light, and they make it more about relationships and less about the actual things that people were going through. And I really struggle. I mean, obviously there's exceptions like things like the Diary of Anne Frank, but I have found recently that I felt like they didn't feel as realistic in terms of the oppression and the things that people were going through. So I went in with a little bit of trepidation, but I'd heard so many good things. I was expecting to really love it, and I just didn't. I mean, it goes without saying that the things that happened to people in World War II were atrocious. The way that people were treated was horrible. But I felt bits of this in this, but it didn't really resonate with me enough to make me form some sort of emotion. Now, I don't know whether that is because we're telling the story of 4 different people. We're hearing 4 different voices, and chapters are often just a page long. So we're flitting between a German soldier who's a bit of a psychopath, and we are flitting them between a sort of a German defector of sorts, a young Polish girl, and a Lithuanian woman who is a nurse, and we're flitting between all of their stories very quickly. And whether that is the reason why we don't get enough information about their characters, I don't know, but I just had no connection to them. I felt like it took us a long time to get to the crux of the story, the main sort of focus, the bit that is blurbed on the back. And that part itself lasted for a very minimal amount of time. And then, so we had this massive long build up to that. And then we had the bit that I think would have been really interesting, which was the event that happened and then the aftermath of that. And it just felt like it was like wham, bam, bam, and done. And I was like, I was 85% through and it just started happening. And I was thinking, gosh, we haven't got long left to like really get through and discover what happened in this situation. And then it sort of happened, and it just, it just felt very rushed, and I didn't have any emotional connection to anyone at the end. I felt the story itself, I feel, is very important. I think it is based on truth. One thing as well that both myself and Sam mentioned when we were reading it was that we both have what I would consider a basic knowledge of World War II. I mean, mine is very basic, and in fact, at the beginning of this, I had to ask my husband some information, and I didn't continue history after maybe I was 13, and so now I feel like I'm lacking in knowledge of certain things, and I felt like we were thrown in and we were expected to know who wasn't friends with who and what countries were against which countries and why, and it was all expected that you had that knowledge. And what we said we thought would have been really good, in fact Sam sort of highlighted this to me and I definitely agree, had there been like 5 or 6 pages at the beginning of the book that just gave you this quick rundown, like, it's between the years of 1939 and 1944, Germany invaded here and they occupied here and their allies were this and fighting against them with this, and if you were of this nationality, this, just a very brief sort of a few pages just to give us a bit of background in that, because there is so many different nationalities and countries discussed and so many different occupations, and they're travelling through certain places, and I really felt like I was a bit confused, and I didn't understand the motivation of the characters, because I didn't understand why they wouldn't be, you know, why they couldn't be friends, or what their, you know, why their countries were having these. And I mean, you know, Germany, I understood, you know, Germany against everyone else, but things like, you know, they were allied with Italy, and that Russia had Stalin, and he was against them, but he was causing various other problems. I just felt like there could have been a bit more of an explanation for us, you know, for the people like me who I feel are historically inept, quite frankly, and I'm embarrassed that I don't know enough. But it's through reading books like this that I feel like I could have learnt, you know, more had there been that little bit at the beginning. Anyway, so unfortunately I fall on, again, the other side of a World War II book, just like I did with Codename Verity, which I ended up DNFing. And this one I finished, but it's just a 2-star read for me. I just didn't enjoy it that much, unfortunately. Anyway, so that was our buddy read, and so now I'm moving on to my graphic novel, which is my book with pictures in, and that's my Sweet Tooth Omnibus, and this is, I believe, issues 1 to 12 bound up, so I'm going to be getting stuck into this one. And then I've had a little bit of a change on one of my books. I haven't decided which category it's going to be in yet, because it does fit into all 3 of the other categories, but I have a library book that is due back, Stolen Songbird by Danielle L. Jensen. So I'm going to be reading this one alongside Sweet Tooth, and it may replace one of the other 3 books, or it may be an additional if I can manage 6 books in the weeks. We shall see. So anyway, I will check back in with you when I've finished the next book. So it's still day 2, but as you can see, I'm now dressed, and I have just finished my omnibus of Sweet Tooth by Jeff Lemire, and this just wasn't as good as I was anticipating. It's the first 12 issues. I believe this is a 40-issue series, so it is a, you know, limited series, and part of me would like to continue with it, but I think I'll probably see if I can get it from the library. The artwork in this is nice. This is on sort of a different type of paper, and the artwork is really interesting. It's, yeah, I don't know, it's colourful, but it's sort of more old school, I'd say, less refined, but I really enjoyed it. The problem I have with this is it's nothing special. It's an apocalyptic story about a plague that's swept through, and these sort of hybrid children have been born with animal parts, and it's about everyone dying of this disease. There's scientists trying to discover, you know, why these children are immune. There's obviously looting and prostitution and things that happen with these sort of apocalyptic events, and it's okay, but it wasn't excellent, so I won't be dashing out to get the next omnibus edition, which is a shame, because I would have liked to have sort of collected these had I really enjoyed it. But I will definitely be looking to get more of these from the library. And what I should have said when I was chatting to you in the very first video was that today is day 2, so we're currently on Sunday, which is day 2 of the readathon. So as of day 2, I have now read 2 things. I've read my buddy read book, and I've read my book with pictures in. So 2 challenges completed by 2 days. I'm pretty pleased with that, and I'll check in with you in a bit. Hi everyone, so it's day 3 of the readathon, and I didn't get a chance to film last night, but I finished my 3rd book, which is Stolen Songbird, and I'm so pleased I finally picked this up. I've been renewing it and renewing it and renewing it from the library, and I finally got to it, and I'm using this as my book that starts with the letter of Sam's name, because it's Sam, so Stolen Songbird. And I love it. I've already reserved my copy of the 2nd book in, I think it's a trilogy, from the library. If you haven't heard of this, it's a YA fantasy story. It's about a girl. She's destined to go to the big city. She's lived in a rural village her whole life, but her mother and father aren't together, and her mother is a famous singer, and she is also a singer, and she is planning the next day as the book starts to go off and start her career as a singer with her mother. On the way, she is kidnapped and taken to a troll kingdom, and it is just a really good story. We've got lots of politics and magic and relationships and side characters that are really interesting, and a really great magic system that I enjoy, and I just really enjoyed this. There was no insta-love, there was really strong friendships forming, and it was just a really great start to a series. And when I finished, I instantly wanted to give it 5 stars. And I think in the end I gave it 4 stars, and I don't know why, it just wasn't quite there for me. It was sort of an instant, oh yeah, I love that, and then I sort of 10 minutes later I was like, no, I did love it, but I don't think it's up there with some of the 5 stars I've read recently. So it's a 4 star, but it's probably more 4.5 if you do half stars, and I can't wait to pick up the next one. So I'm so pleased I finally got to this one. I definitely recommend it if you like the sound of it. Oh, and also I just want to say that I'm dabbling with my hair down at the moment, and today I have dyed my hair. You're the first to see it on video. I decided I was a bit sick of my grey hairs. I've started going grey on top, and when you've got dark hair you notice it a bit more. So I have got myself a hair dye. I've gone chocolate brown, so I'm just getting used to seeing myself looking a little bit different. So if you think my hair looks a totally different colour and you're wondering what's happened to my lighting, it's not, it's hair dye. Okay, anyway, I will see you later. Okay guys, so let's check in. It's day 1, 2, 3 of the Book Buddy-a-thon, and I read a whole book today. So I have now read my 4th book of the Book Buddy-a-thon, which was Songs About a Girl by Chris Russell. This was one I picked up on a whim in a W.H. Smith's. I think it was on some sort of deal, and I quite liked the sound of it. It's a YA contemporary. It's about a girl. She is really into photography. She especially likes taking photos of bands and music photography, and she's still at school. She's just turned 16, and she gets the opportunity to go backstage and take some sort of candid shots of the new up-and-coming boy band, one of which of the members used to be a boy at her school who she didn't know too well, but she had spoken to on one occasion, and who knew that she liked photography. And so she's thrown into this world of this boy band. She discovers more about them. She learns about the different members of the band. She forms a connection with one of the members, and it's really that. But there's this thread that goes underneath this, which is sort of a mystery. There's some sort of mystery going on. There's finding out people's backstories. And I really enjoyed it. It was a really fast read. I was really enjoying while I was reading it. I really enjoyed the romantic aspect of this. Bits of it didn't feel very realistic, but I think you sometimes get that in this type of fiction. The one thing that I really struggled with is it left me on a cliffhanger, and I wasn't expecting this to be part of a series, but it is. There's going to be a follow-up book, and it did leave us on a little bit of a cliffhanger, so I'm now desperately feeling like I need to read the next one. But it was a good read. I enjoyed it. I gave it 4 stars. It definitely kept me wanting to read, and as I say, I read it in a day, so that was pretty good going. And then I'm just reading currently, did I mention I Miss You, which is by Estelle Mascamé and is her 3rd book in the Dimily series. I've read the first 2 and I've got this 3rd one to read, and I'm wrapping up the series. So I will catch up with you when I've had a chance to read that. But I'm really pumped. I can't believe how much I've read already this week. The Book Buddy-a-thon's really motivating me to read, and doing the sprints with you guys on Twitter is really helping. And I just think I've picked some books that I've really been in the mood for. So I've been quite lucky. The TBR has actually sort of been one that I've wanted to read. So I will check in with you a little bit later and let you know how I'm getting on and what I think of this final book in this trilogy. Hi guys, so it's day 6 of the Book Buddyathon, and Book Buddyathon has proved to be a very good readathon for me this time. I've really enjoyed doing the Twitter sprints, and I've just picked some books that I've obviously really been in the mood for. So when I last saw you, I was reading Did I Mention I Miss You by Estelle Mascamé. This is the 3rd book in the Dimmerly trilogy. I've really enjoyed this. It's been one of those series that has grown on me and really built in momentum for me. It's about a girl. She moves one summer in the first book to stay with her dad and his new family, and he has a new wife and he has 3 stepchildren, all boys and all similar ages, ranging from a little bit older than her to a little bit younger, and a relationship forms between her and the eldest boy, and it's about the dynamics of that, the stigma attached to that, the secrecy, the relationships with the family, and it's really interesting, and I've really enjoyed watching the characters, their dynamics, how they've grown, and it's been a really good series and a solid 4-star series all the way through really for me. So I really enjoyed finishing this one up. I won't tell you too much about this one because obviously it'll spoil it if you haven't read the first, but it's a good solid 4-star series. I gave this one 4 stars and I definitely recommend it if you like the sound of it. And then to complete a duology, I read The Rose and the Dagger by Readathon. This is the sequel to The Wrath and the Dawn, which I read recently, and I'm really pleased I picked this up quite quickly afterwards. Often I read the first book in a series and then it takes me like a year before I read the next one, even though they're out. Often when I start a series, most of the books are out, and so this time I thought, no, I'm gonna really go for it straight away because I really enjoyed The Wrath and the Dawn, and I wanted to go into this one with the story still strong in my mind, and it was a really strong second book, a really strong conclusion to the series. In Wrath and the Dawn, we're following Scheherazade, who gives herself to the king to be married, and what is happening is the king is marrying a girl every evening, and by the morning she is dead and she's been killed, and Shahrazad's best friend has gone in and this has happened to her, and she's determined to go and kill the king and seek her revenge, and the story unravels from there. And there's magic and there's intrigue and there's plots and battles and really strong female characters and really interesting side characters. It was just a really good duology, and so I gave this one 4 stars as well. So it's the end of Book Buddyathon, and by my count I've managed to read 6 books. That's 5 novels and 1 graphic novel omnibus. I'm so pleased. That's the most I've read in a week in ages. I've really enjoyed what I've been reading, and I've really enjoyed doing this readathon, so thank you so much to everyone that's been taking part. I have been really enjoying watching all the videos. It's taken me a while to catch up with people's videos because I've been reading so much, but I'm really enjoying watching everyone else's videos, their TBRs, their vlogs, and what they've been reading, and it means a lot to me that people take part. Also, just to mention, as I've said a few times, the December Book Buddy box is now on sale. There's I think we're nearly sort of halfway to being sold out now, so it's going quite quickly. So if you did want to give it a go for Christmas, or you've seen people talk about it and you thought you wanted to try it out, then I'll leave the links down below so you can go and check that out. And yeah, thank you so much for joining me. It's been a really good, I think it's 2 years now that I've been on YouTube, and it's also, I've just hit 4,000 subscribers, which is really lovely, and it's just wonderful to have so many of you that are interested in talking to me about books and sharing our love of books together. So thank you for that. And that's it from me, and I'll see you soon. Bye for now, BookTube.